All right. We are live tonight. Welcome to the call. This is group coaching with Abigail from iPlanner and Company, and guest speaker tonight, Lynn Demmons from Demmons Enterprise. She runs a page on Facebook called Financial Solutions, and she also has a Facebook group called Create a Better You. She has a background in sales, and she has been selling for the College Board for the past 8 years. So I would say she is very good in sales. That is something that she's been trained for. So I've invited her to share about sales tonight and how to do that for your business. I know a lot of us have had questions about sales and how to do that without coming across as too pushy or pushing our clients away from us. And so I have invited Lynn to share tonight, and I am going to turn it over to Lynn. And if you have questions, we will be glad to answer those. Welcome, Lynn.
Well, thank you so much, Abigail, and thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. And I promise you that this time will be invaluable to you. The information will be invaluable, but what's most important is the action steps that you decide to take after hearing this information. And as Abigail stated, you know, there's oftentimes we are asking ourselves, oh my gosh, I don't think that I am the best salesperson, or I'm being too pushy as a salesperson, or I'm simply not good at sales in general. So what should I do? And because that's one of the top questions that I tend to hear, I wanted to share that no matter what you do in life, at some point in time, you will have to be a salesperson by trade. Whether you're the CEO of a company and you have to sell the company vision to the employees, if you are applying for a job, your dream job, or maybe you just finished high school or college and you need a summer job, you have to sell yourself to that company or that institution in which you would like to be employed. So there are different opportunities for us to become salespersons, but if we're not good at it, how do we improve, essentially? The number one thing that you do to improve yourself as a salesperson is to educate yourself in the theory of sales, because this is something that can be learned. You can develop the skills to become a salesperson. So educate yourself in the theory, whether that's by reading a book, attending a workshop, or listening in on a webinar like this. Get the theoretical side of good sales practice. Follow the gurus. See what they are doing. But to only have theoretical knowledge is not good. It's not going to get you the results that you want to achieve as a salesperson. So the next thing that I would say to you to improve is to basically get some real world practical experience. What does that mean? Go out and get a sales job, right? Maybe you can go out and get a part-time sales job so that you can learn those skills or develop those skills that you need. And this may not be practical for everyone. And if that's not practical, that's not an option for you, there are other options. You could possibly start a network marketing company, right? But you need to do whatever it takes to learn how to sell, because that's going to be very important for you in your business as an entrepreneur in different things, different aspects of your life. And if you do start a network marketing company, I definitely would say to you, make sure that you're joining up with a company that's going to provide training for you, because the ultimate goal of this network marketing opportunity is for you to develop those sales skills. So apply those principles that they're giving you within that opportunity, attend all the training, and develop the sales skills that will serve you throughout your career, throughout your entrepreneurial journey, throughout any endeavor that you wish to take as you move forward. So I just wanted to say that to kind of set the stage to help get us in the right mindset, right? If you are not quite there in sales, what are some basic things that you can do to improve? But if you are there and you're going through the motions, if you will, of your sales journey, there are basically 3 steps of the sales process. And this is training that's provided to us. As Abigail mentioned, I do work with the College Board. I am a salesperson, and you may know the College Board as the AP, the SAT company. And that's one of the things that we do. We work with states and districts to ensure that we're supporting them as they're supporting students. But in our sales process, it's akin to going to the doctors, if you will, right? When you go to the doctor's office, what's the first thing that he does? He's going to ask you what's going on, whether you have a sore throat, watery eyes, the pollen is bothering you, whatever that case may be. He has to find out what the problem is, right? You don't just go to the doctor and he says, oh, come on in, we're going to go ahead and do surgery today, right? There's a step-by-step process that he takes. So that first step, the first thing that you do is what we call the examination. This is where you find out what the problem is that your potential customer has before you make a recommendation to them in regards to the particular product or service that you're offering, right? So now we're back in the doctor's office again, and we're thinking about this examination. What's the next step that the doctor takes? He's basically going to take this information that you, the patient, have now given him, the information you told him or her, and he's going to complete his own examination and finally pull all of that together and draw a conclusion. That's what we know as the diagnosis. And in the sales process, once you know what the problem is of your customer, now you have to draw a conclusion based upon the information that you've pulled, the research that you've completed. Once you have all of that together, thinking about the doctor, now he knows what's wrong with you. He's been able to complete the examination, draw some conclusions. Now what is he going to do? Basically, he's going to prescribe something for you, if you will, right? And this is the prescription part of the sales process. This is your course of treatment for the customer. This is your answer, your solution that you are providing to their problem. So I want you to think of the sales process in this way as you continue to develop your sales skills. And how am I examining the problem for my customer? What is the diagnosis? And what's my final prescription for that individual? And typically, if you are a coach, a business coach, a virtual coach, no matter the case, these 3 steps are applicable in all those different areas. One of the things that I definitely want to share with you as you're thinking through that 3-step sales process, there's also something that we like to term in the sales world as your value proposition. What is your value proposition? And this is very important because this is what your customer anticipates receiving as a value from you, right? Because we all know that the customers, at the end of the day, if you're in the market for wrinkle cream, you want to get rid of those wrinkles that are just now starting to appear on your face. It does not matter the cost of that cream. If it's producing the results that you want, you're more than likely going to pay $59 or $99 or whatever the cost is for that bottle, because you're not focused on the price. What are you buying? You're buying that end result. You're buying the reduction of those wrinkles from your face. So customers buy the results that your products will give them, not the product itself. And I think that's one of the things that we miss in the sales conversation. The value is the difference between the end result. The price is simply what you charge. The thing that I love is posted here on the screen, and this is a quote from Warren Buffett that you always need to remember throughout the sales process. price is what you pay, the value is what you get. So what you have to do, or what you have to learn to do as a salesperson, is to teach people how much your product or your service will help them. The more that you can focus on the end result, the less you need to focus on the price. And that's huge for us. Take, for example, I work with the SAT and the AP company. And when everyone hears the SAT, they're like, oh no, I remember when I took the SAT, right? And you probably had a similar experience, or you cringe when you heard that word, or those three letters, if you will, the SAT. But what we're selling to the customer is, at the high school level, at the college and university level, we're telling you whether or not this child is ready. Will the student graduate from your campus? See, that's the end game for high school and for college. The end game for them is graduation. So if I can tell them that the SAT is going to allow them to pick and choose students who are more likely to graduate from their institutions, that means that's a dollar sign that's now attached to that child for that institution. That gives them some different value. That allows me to focus on the end game, right? The end result for this individual institution. So you can take that same opportunity and apply that to your product, thinking of what's the value proposition. Okay, so as you go through this, and I've been talking about value, I've mentioned this word value proposition a couple of times. So what is your value proposition? And this is something that if you have not developed this for your company, for you, or whatever the opportunity that's presented, take some time to understand, first of all, what is the definition of the value proposition? It is what you promise to deliver. What are you going to get as a result of working with me? This is your primary reason that that customer, that client, that prospect is going to buy from you, okay? And once you develop this value proposition, make sure that it is clear and concise and to the point, if you will. It's going to tell about your product, the problem that your product solves for them, or how it's going to improve their life or their current situation. So it's relevant to the customer. You're going to show how it delivers quantifiable results. I've been talking about the wrinkle reducing cream, right? We can visibly see a 50 or 60% reduction in the lines in the woman's face. These are quantifiable benefits. And then you tell your ideal customer why to buy from you. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what do you have to lose? Absolutely nothing, right? This is how you are unique from your competition. So it's very important to have your value proposition. So if you walk away with nothing else tonight, walk away with this. You have to teach people how much your product or your service will help them. Ultimately, you will increase your sales. Okay? So there are certain things that you have to do after having this value proposition. Most important, I will say, is make sure that you have the right mindset. If you're going to build your sales skills, you have to believe that you are a salesperson. So now you have to throw away that line. Remember the question we mentioned at the beginning of this session. I'm not good at sales, so what should I do? You have to remove that from your vocabulary. Change that thinking to I am good at sales. Once you have that mindset, then you're ready for the next step. And the next step is looking at the 6 things that you should never do as a salesperson. And I'm speaking from experience because I did all of these in my early stages as a salesperson. And the first thing is you never allow your sales prospect or your customer to leave your sales funnel. What do I mean by that? If they say yes or no to a specific product, if they're saying yes, they buy the product and then that's the end. No, it should not be. you need to have a way for them to return to your product, to your sales funnel, if you will. That's what we call the upsell. So if they say yes, it's usually easier, right? If you have some sort of system in place to upsell, to continue to keep them in your funnel. If they're saying no to you, then you need to follow up with them and ask why. Ask quality questions that will allow you to evaluate whether you can solve the specific problem that the prospect may have. If you don't ask why, then you'll never know if there's something that you can change or something you could have said, just minor tweaking the way that you said something to get to the yes. So always, always, always continue to follow up with your prospect. The second thing I say is, if you're going to have a meeting with someone, or if that's a face-to-face meeting or a virtual meeting, or you're going to do a Facebook Live or some other opportunity to meet with that person, you know your ideal customer going in. Do not neglect to do the research part of the sale, right? If you neglect to do your homework by not asking, having some type of pre-evaluation questionnaire or survey to get to the bottom of the root cause for that individual, to get more into the nitty-gritty, if you will. Finding out as much information as possible so that you're not now talking to the person about a potential sales and you're asking questions that you could have easily found by doing a little research, by looking at their website, by finding them on LinkedIn or some other social media platform. So as a salesperson, make sure that you know your customer base and don't forget to do your homework. The third thing I want to say, and this one is tough for me because I am a person who loves to talk. But as a salesperson, in the midst of the sale, you never talk excessively. You don't want to talk too much during the sales interaction, right? Because you want to show that you care about the customer's needs. So as much as you can hear from them, this allows you to determine, what's going to be the most effective sales strategy for this particular person, right? How am I going to be able to gauge this individual in a different way if I'm not?
I think I'm a little bit like that too. I get excited about what I'm doing and get to talking, and yeah, so.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a common concern because it oftentimes is all about, we want to get out what we want to say, right? We want to get out how important, how invaluable our product or service is, but then we don't give the customer the time to tell us what it is that they really need. And if we step back for a moment and actually listen, just think about how much easier it would be to close the sale. The other thing, too, number 4, is don't provide irrelevant information. Who cares about you, right? The customer is all me, 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 me. What can you do for me? So we have to keep that in mind as well as salespersons, right? The customer, we treat them like the king or the queen in that moment, right? Because we want to be able to close the deal. They only care if your product or service will benefit them. They don't care how long you've been in business. In many cases, you'll have a couple who will ask that. Of course, it's great to have that information available. They don't care how many degrees you have. They want to know, can you ultimately help me? And if so, how are we going to get this done? The fifth thing that you should never do as a salesperson is never to allow the client to control the sales part, okay? Now, there's a difference in listening to what they want, but when you get ready to close the sale, you need to make sure that you can take control of that sale, that you are prepared, that you have all the relevant information at your fingertips. You have testimonials, you have your proof, you have the data whatever it takes, you have all of that in your back pocket. So when they say no and you ask why, you can immediately pull that out and say, look, here are the results. This is what customer ABC has said, and these are the results that she received. So as a result, never go in unprepared. And finally, don't forget to review your checklist prior to the meeting or the discussion. And when I say that, you have to have a checklist because ultimately we get so bogged down. We're getting everything together. We're moving from point A to point B, trying to get things together, and we leave something behind, right? So if you have a checklist of all those items and you look at that before you go into the sales, you will go in more confident than you would have had you not had that opportunity available to you. So it's very important to have your checklist of all the items you need for the sale. And if you think about it, the number one thing or the number one shortfall of a salesperson, we do not ask the customer to commit to the sale on the spot. Oftentimes we'll walk away and we won't say, so what is the next step? Will you take this product and use this to improve your life? No, you don't want to be salesy. No, you don't want to be overbearing. And yes, you do want to ask this in a non-threatening, confident manner. Make sure to remain positive and remember your end game or your goals. If you do those things, that there's a tremendous opportunity that you'll be able to close the deal. And I lost, okay. So I definitely wanted to share those things with you and looking at all of these strategies and skills. And I want you to remember that you have one opportunity to make a great impression on your customer. So remember to ask them for the commitment, ask in a non-threatening way, and this is going to decrease the likelihood of making what we call a sales blunder, of dropping the ball on the sale, okay? So remember to remain positive and keep goal-oriented, keep the end game, keep the goal in mind as you move throughout this process. So I hope that this information has been invaluable to you, and I'd love to hear from you which of the sales strategies has been most effective. And if you will, if you could leave a comment in our Facebook group. I definitely want to change your future. And if you want to change your future, you need to take action now. So if we have any questions, we'll be glad to take those.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lynn. I know that I gained some awesome insight from that myself. I was taking notes as you were going through. And I really love the presentation. There was some eye-opener things in there for myself. You know, I've done different sales jobs myself, and really, if you're running a business, you were doing sales regardless of whether you think you really are or not.
Right, exactly.
So, because you're offering a service or a product in some way.
Exactly.
So I think that this is really great.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. And one last thing, if you don't mind,
Sure.
that I wanted to share and that I failed to mention at the beginning is that sales is basically 80% attitude and 20% aptitude.
Awesome.
We've all heard of that 80-20 rule, right? Thinking about it from that perspective, you develop those skills. If you can hone in and get that 20%, the rest of it is in your mind. What's the game you're playing with yourself in your mind? And as we think about it too, ultimately, most of your most prospective customers haven't even heard of you. So what are you doing to get out there to increase the amount of time that you're in front of your customers? Whether you're doing that through social media or through some type of live stream, what are you doing to get in front of your customer. If you have Facebook, Instagram, or would like to connect with me, I would definitely be interested in connecting with you. I'm on Instagram at Demmons Speak, Facebook at Demmons Enterprise, because ultimately, networking is just building a long-term friendships in your areas of interest. So if there's anyone who would like to collaborate with me, I'm always looking for great partners to do other ventures with, and I definitely welcome that opportunity. Thank you so much for having me, Abigail.
Thanks so much for being here with us, Lynn. We really appreciate it. And those that registered for the call are going to be getting a replay. And then Lynn also has a freebie for you. So be looking for that in your inbox.
Yes, yes, yes. I forgot to mention that, and I thank you so much for bringing that up. There is a sales checklist. So when you get ready to go out of the door on that sales call, you don't have your checklist ready-made. I have one that you can actually take, transcribe that, or customize it, if you will, to meet your needs so that you'll be ready when you go out on your next sales call.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for being here with us tonight, and be looking in your inbox for the replay and that checklist. All right. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Have a good evening.